I'm Bhupender Singh. I'm the CEO of Intelenet Global Services. I'm based in Gurgaon. Yeah, I think like every other sector, even healthcare has its fair share of adoption of technology. But having said that, frankly, I personally feel that the adoption is far slower than my own comfort factor. Uh, I'll give an example of the US healthcare industry. In the US, they spend about 16% of the GDP, almost 1/6 of the GDP on the healthcare sector, which is almost double that of some of the European countries. UK is about 8%, most of the Scandinavian countries are around 7%. And it's fairly widely accepted that the European countries have a much better universal healthcare program than the US. Despite Obamacare, they have not reached the universal healthcare. Now, when one looks at the details of the 16% in the US, more than half of that is actually on administrative activities, not on actual patient care, but on administrative activities. Now, so had the technology adoption been much faster, that 50% non-value add, non-patient care activities probably should have been reduced by now, but that doesn't seem to be going down at the pace that it should have gone down. So that's why I think, well, yes, we are seeing examples of that across the globe, but in the biggest economy, the adoption is there, but it's still slow. So Intelenet is a business process services company. We have been in business for the last 16 years. We've got about 55,000 people globally across 8 countries. And we focus on 3 industry verticals, banking, financial services, travel, and healthcare. And within healthcare, we service both the payer sides. Payers are like your insurance companies, healthcare insurance companies, and the providers. Now, providers could either be medical hospitals or medical equipment or medicine providers. And we service both the payers and the providers. And what we do is we do back office processes. So on the payer side, it'll be things like claims processing, will be things like underwriting. And on the provider side, it'll be primarily medical coding and revenue cycle management. So once a doctor or a physician or a hospital prescribes a medicine or a treatment to a patient, that prescription has to be converted into medical code so that someone can be billed for that and payments can be made. So we take over once the doctor gives the prescription. From there we take over so that the relevant payments can be made either by the insurance companies or by the patients. So I think, again, let me try to do that in 2 parts. First part is actual patient care. Now, in that, especially on tertiary care, frankly, India is beginning to become a hub. So I think there the adoption of technology, the treatments and other things is we are beginning to become best in class. But as far as, again, in the areas that we operate in, which is on the back office processing, making the non-patient care activities to be as efficient as possible so that the healthcare spend can actually be done on true patient care, there India is, I would say, still in the nascent stage on 2 counts. One is people are still operating in a very decentralized manner. Every clinic, every physician, every hospital is doing it on their own rather than doing it in a more efficient shared service environment. And second is it's still largely paper and manual processing as opposed to deploying any automation or any digital tools. So this is one of the tools we have. It's not that this is the only tool that we have. And most of our tools are geared around what I mentioned earlier, which is reducing the non-value add spend, which is that 8% non-patient care spend, because anything that we can save there, that money could be diverted to actual patient care. And this is one area we found that we were doing it for one of our clients for the past 10 years or so. And we thought this activity could be done in the today's day and age of Uber, could be done very easily by an app as opposed to a human being. And it's something that delivers more efficient service, better customer experience, and the customer is in control. So that's why we decided to go for it. The genesis of this is we actually used to do nurses appointment setting for our patients. So one of our clients is one of the largest at-home care provider in the US. And so the typical customer patient profile is they're about ages 60 and above, and they would normally require a nurse to visit them. And the earlier process used to be is that they would call our client, and we would be actually answering the call or the email on behalf of our client. And let's say a patient would say, can I get a nurse at 5 p.m. on Friday? Typically, first we would check whether our client's own nurses, our client had about 200 nurses of their own, and then about network of about 3,000 nurses all across the US. So first we would check if any of client's 200 nurses was available or not. If a client's nurse was available, we had their schedule, we could actually make that appointment fairly easily. But more often than not, we had to go outside those 200 nurses, and then it was almost a negotiation with those nurses. Can you make it 5 o'clock? Can you make it 6 o'clock? And more often than not, A, it was a back and forth, and B, the customer did not get a nurse at the time that they wanted. Now, so instead of 5 p.m. on a Friday, they may get it at 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Now, given the nature of the requirement, they would still accept it, but it was not the best customer experience. So what we have done is actually, rather than this activity being done on phone, now this activity is done via an app. And so just like you can book a car, our customer can go to the app, they make a requirement for 5 p.m. on a Friday. The app on its own first checks the schedule of clients' 200 nurses. And if someone is available, they set the appointment, send a confirmation SMS to the customer. In case one of the internal 200 nurses is not available, it gets opened up to the network of 3,000 nurses. And then it's like fastest fingers first. Whoever accepts it, so there's a competitive tension there. Whoever accepts it, they get the job. So now almost in 95% of the cases, the customer gets the nurse at the time that they wanted. The confirmation is within seconds. And in terms of efficiency, earlier we had 78 people doing this activity on phones and emails. Now it's down to sub 15. So it's efficient, it's better customer experience, and it's fast. Yeah, so as I mentioned, it's faster, it's quicker, it's better customer experience because they get services at the time that they wanted as opposed to at the time the service provider is available. And we see opportunities for deploying this. This was one specific use, but we see opportunities for deploying this in a wide range of areas, from scheduling of doctor's appointments to actually scheduling even non-healthcare industry, scheduling logistics and other things. If you think about it, some of the, let's say again, if I go back to the Uber or let's say Indian version Ola Cabs example, these apps actually have found fairly high adoption even in the non-metro locations because they're very easy to use. The adoption and the penetration of smartphones is very high. So in a similar manner, some of these technological advances may be able to overcome the infrastructure barriers that we have. And people should we think that this may actually help us leapfrog the service industry in our rural and non-metro locations as opposed to some of the metro locations. So yeah, we are doing that. In fact, a few weeks back, I was in the Middle East in Dubai, and there also we service two big hospital chains, and we are deploying a variant of this tool for those hospitals now. And we are finding adoption. So it's around trying to find, again I go back, our whole mission is to optimize and automate redundant activities that are in a way non-patient care and non-value add from a healthcare perspective. And so this was one example. The other examples that we're doing is actually automating the entire revenue cycle management process. We are automating the medical coding process. So we are looking at other facets, wherever things that are being done on paper or manually, if those could be moved to more efficient channels like digital channels. Yeah. So as I said, we service three big sectors, and within that healthcare is one of the biggest sectors that we have. And we have got a few mechanisms to be current with what's happening in the marketplace. One is, within our business, we actually have healthcare domain experts who actually participate in industry leading conferences and other things, and they actually come out with their own white papers and research papers on what's happening in industry. These are people who have spent over 25, 30 years in the vertical, and there are three key markets that we service internationally, which is US, UK, and the Middle East. So these people have also spent time in these markets. Second is we actually have a network of industry advisors that we leverage. And third is we also work very closely with our clients. In fact, some of our clients are Fortune 100 companies which are in this sector, and we participate in their strategy and their ops strategy discussions so that we get a better understanding of what their pain points are so that our solutions can be geared towards those pain points. So again, let me start with the developed economies first actually there. As I started this meeting with, US, the biggest economy in the world, is very inefficient, and everyone is talking about that we need to do something in the healthcare. They talked about repealing Obamacare, coming out with a new bill, but irrespective of whether it's Obamacare, whether it's Trump care or some other name of that, I think they need to do something about reducing the 8% spend on the non-value add activities. And yes, you can tinker around the edges by incremental changes. Any major change has to come through technology intervention. So I believe firstly, even the developed markets have a long way to go. And then India has an opportunity where we can leapfrog this, just like we did in electronics. We jumped straight from VCRs to kind of to newer things. I think the same thing may happen in India, that we may be able to leapfrog some of the technology advancements in this sector.